Hey, welcome to Passive Profits. My name is Jay Malone. I'm the founder, creator of Passive Profits. And I'm doing this new experiment where I'm sending out these midweek recap emails on Wednesday mornings. And it includes a recap of the Sunday deep dive edition that went out Sunday morning. And if you've been following along for a little while, you'll remember that at the top there used to be a link to listen to me read or narrate the newsletter. And not many people clicked on it, honestly, so I stopped doing it for a little bit. But now in these midweek recaps, which is a much shorter email, I'm going to try to bring it back. Maybe because it's a shorter email, you'll find the link and listen to it. Maybe because it's a Wednesday instead of a Sunday, you're on the go and you'd appreciate hearing the newsletter versus reading it with your eyeballs. So let me know if this is interesting. If I see people clicking on it and viewing it, I'll keep doing it. If not, I won't do it anymore. Okay, so without further ado, let's get into today's newsletter edition. Again, this is a recap of the Sunday. So in the very first edition of the Passive Profits newsletter, I shared my own story of productizing my consulting services into courses and toolkits. Since then, I've been wanting to bring you more founder stories to help you learn and become galvanized by fellow founders a few or many steps down the road from you. Because being able to see the path they took, learn about pitfalls they overcame, and witness the success they achieved offers you a North Star to guide your journey. By the way, I picked this up by learning so much from Chanel Basilio, who writes Growth in Reverse, which I'm going to link to in this week's upcoming Sunday newsletter edition. She does deep dives on founder stories, more like their growth mechanics that they use to grow their newsletters and different things like that. I highly recommend it. And so I love that format so much that I'm going to sprinkle those into the Passive Profits newsletter as well. Okay. And so today I'm thrilled to bring you the inspiring founder-creator story of Julia McCoy. You'll learn how she transferred her content marketing consultancy into an online business that she eventually exited for 7 figures. And by the way, if you know any additional founders, or are you a founder like Julia who has transformed services or just kind of in general building online courses and are seeing some success with it, getting some traction, have some revenue that you've brought in, I would love to feature you in an upcoming newsletter. Humble beginnings and hard work. In 2011, with a personal investment of $75, Julia started a content agency called Express Writers. Like most service-based businesses, Julia spent a lot of time hustling to build her book of business. Growth came slowly at first, mostly by word of mouth. But given Julia's writing abilities, she decided to start blogging. Julia knew she was playing the long game with this route, but she was much more interested in sustainable growth on her own realty. Those are her words. In other words, content on her own domain versus sexy marketing like a viral TikTok video. Julia devoted around 3 hours per month to research lead generating topics, like topics around content marketing, content creation, content strategy. She would then write and publish 4 1,000 to 3,000 word blogs per month. And once she systematized her blogging process, she delegated it so that she could focus on her clients, team, and cultivating new growth levers. Over time of delivering great work and creating valuable content, the growth of her business compounded. By 2017, Julia had assembled a 40-person team that had delivered $4 million in consulting. Growth chart here that shows Express Writers' growth from 2012 when they launched to 2021 when she exited. But she was also growing weary of the grind of selling hers and her team's time for money. Sound familiar? Most days were 12 plus hours. And there's a great quote I caught in here from her that she says, running an agency selling 100% human-led services isn't for the faint of heart. Then, in 2018, she took her first steps toward productizing her skills and services by acting on an internal company problem, scratching her own growing itch. As Julia's team grew, she spent less time delivering all the work and more time managing and coaching her people. The team would continually ask her where to go to learn how to put together a content strategy. Additionally, her clients and prospective clients also needed to understand what good content strategy looked like. Julia researched various courses she found on the internet, none of which impressed her. This gap signaled an unmet need. At the same time, Julia had developed an informed hunch that the content marketing industry was only set to grow over the coming years. She was right. In 2017, the content marketing industry was at $300 billion in global revenue. In 2023, it eclipsed $600 billion. Seeing the problems her team and clients faced and eyeing a growing market, Julia decided to seize the opportunity. Path to productization. In 2017, Julia capitalized on all of the content strategy content she and her team had been blogging about and procured a 400-page book. It's called Practical Content Strategy and Marketing. You can get it on Amazon or other places. While she built up loads of expertise about content marketing and content strategy by fulfilling client projects, writing a book deepened her mastery further. The book forced her to package and refine her ideas into easily understood theory and practical frameworks. The book additionally provided Julia with market feedback. As people read it, they'd ask questions, share how they were applying her methods, and mention areas that were still confusing or challenging. Readers also shared how helpful the book was. Even 7 years later, Julia still has people read. Those feedback loops, both good and bad, provided Julia with the evidence that people were hungry for more. Julia's book widened the gap between learning about content strategy and putting the methods to work. This gap represented Julia's next opportunity to develop her book into a hands-on course. She had a quote in here. It's a good opener to her mindset before she set out to build a course. She said, "Create something that bridges a gap rather than building a course just because you can." Have an intention, really solve an important problem. Julia launched the Content Strategy and Marketing course in May 2019. She originally launched the course as one master certification program packed with 75 instructional videos. Creating the program was a major effort, taking her about 8.5 months to build while also running her agency. Over time, Julia eventually broke the course into 6 modules. She also brought an industry leader in instructors. By the way, I think she also decided that you could buy each individual module or you could buy all 6 together. That was another thing that I noticed. Start again. Additionally, the original program was 100% online and self-paced. As she collected feedback and iterated, she added interactivity in the form of private student groups of a private student group that met together and with Julia and her instructors. Julia also packaged previously included assets like guides and templates and reframed them as bonuses worth an additional $1,200 in value. And who doesn't love bonuses? Today, Julia's program includes the foundational 6-module course, including 75 videos, a copy of her book, access to a private community, and 10 brand strategy exercises, templated. Julia originally launched the course for $997 or 12 payments of $99. Today, those same pricing tiers exist. I mention that because sometimes what you'll notice is people do a lot of experimentation with their pricing, and it'll change pretty significantly. But Julia kind of stuck to her guns, and it seemed like it paid off. The CS&M course was a massive effort for Julia, but the payoff of new passive revenue plus her newly acquired creator skills enabled the next chapter of her business. Starting small and building trust. Before the CS&M course, Julia had no background or experience in productizing her skills and services into digital assets, aka digitizing. One major lesson Julia learned was the importance of building trust with your prospective customers. As Julia experienced, it was initially difficult to sell a $1,000 program. That's a good chunk of change for most people. But like many who are building their first product, Julia wanted to provide her customers with everything they could possibly need to know about content marketing and strategy. Today, when Julia counsels founders looking to productize and build online businesses, she recommends laying out all of the components of your Grandmaster course in a spreadsheet. Then, instead of building the entire thing, build the first component and sell it for a small fee. For example, something less than $10, like $9. A $9 course is something many prospective customers are willing to try, even before they know, like, and trust you. When that first course delivers on its promise, and that's your job to make sure it does, your customers will trust you enough to buy your next $9 course. And after that, your $45 advanced course. Eventually, they trust you enough to buy your $1,000 master program. As Julia says, her long-term goal was to earn sales from people that have never met me before on autopilot. That sounds like a dream. Not that you don't want to be in touch with your customers, but establishing yourself as such an expert and with such redeeming trust from your market and your audience that they're willing to buy things from you before they sit down across from you and grill you on what your product and service offers, that's great. She earned that. The launch of Content Hackers. With the success of the CS&M program, Julia continued to double down on building up the online side of her business. In October of 2019, Julia officially launched Content Hackers, where she sold a growing array of content creation, marketing, and strategy courses. The courses range in pricing. Many courses are available for one-time costs of $27 up to $2,500. She also offers at least one, based on my research, she also offers at least one subscription-based product, her Content Accelerator, that goes for $1,500 per month. Today, the Content Hacker site serves a different purpose, but Julia continues to sell all of her courses through her Teachable hosted site. By the way, Teachable is an online creator platform similar to Podia or Thinkific, Kajabi, if you want to go down that path. Yeah, so that's what Teachable is. Now that we understand Julia's backstory and her path to productization, let's look over all that she accomplished. Tallying the results. Based on my independent research, here are the publicly shared milestones Julia has reached since launching her first course in 2019. Julia has now created at least 15 courses and memberships within the Content Hacker ecosystem. Along the way, she's built up an enviable audience of 60,000 followers. That's 14,000 on Instagram, 23,000 on LinkedIn, 11,000 on YouTube, and 12,000 on X or Twitter. Something important to note, and let me stop for a second. Now, if you're reading that and you're like, I have to build an audience on every channel, get rid of that thought. What you'll notice Julia did, what I do, what every other creator does, is they pick one channel and they get really good at it. They figure out how to really kind of like build the audience, establish trust there, establish their expertise, really become known for that topic in that channel, in that site. And then they start to take what works, systematize it, and bring it into other channels. Don't try to do 3 or 4 or 5 channels at once. Something important to note and an interesting insight, because Julia was always single focused on growing within her own channels, like her website, her blog, her course sales page. Much of her social media growth, those are rented channels that I just mentioned above, came later. And while followers are sometimes snubbed as a vanity metric, Julia also has earned 1,500 paying students, yielding a payout of approximately $500,000 in online sales. Julia has also published 9 books, many of which she offers for $0. And so remember what she said about building trust. On a personal note, one personal milestone that Julia has shared is how her journey enabled her to buy her dream home. That was a big goal for Julia, and she accomplished it. But the icing on the cake, with all of Julia's hard-earned success, in late 2023, she sold Content Hacker to a company called Content at Scale for more than $1 million. I couldn't find the exact numbers, but she shared that it was more than $1 million. Since the acquisition from Content at Scale, where Julia is now the president, she's launched a new mission with uncapped potential. Julia is now using Content Hacker as a destination to teach content marketers how to actually, because I've tried and it's tough, how to actually leverage AI within their creation process. One course that she's launched is called Your AI Optimized Blog. She's got a whole bunch of content in there. She's launched a series of courses, content, and a $20 a month membership to join her Content Hacker community. What an amazing, inspiring set of accomplishments. Meaningful pursuits are never easy. As we start to wrap up Julia's founder story, your thoughts may turn to your own journey. You may start to compare your current results with Julia's. It's important to internalize that Julia's success hardly materialized overnight. Same goes for all the influencers that are worth following. There was always a long slog way before the world came to celebrate them, right? That messy start that we don't get to see. There are years of selling door to door, of managing communities and giving tons of value away, of coaching private people for free or for like low, just to like develop their craft. Like all that stuff is the stuff that we don't see that led up to their glorious entry into the world, where they're now celebrated as this amazing influencer that does 8 figures. Over the weekend, I shared a clip of a talk Kara Lawson, who's the head coach of Duke basketball, gave to her student athletes. She challenged them to become a person that handles hard well. Great. It's like a 3-minute clip. There's a link in here. I recommend watching it. That's the mindset you need to develop to become a founder creator like Julia. Because as Kara Lawson says, if you have a meaningful pursuit in life, it will never be easy. And so as you reflect on Julia's story and consider your road ahead, it can feel like you're staring up Mount Everest. You tell yourself, I'll never get there, or it's going to be too expensive. But imagine if Julia treated her journey the same way when she was just starting her agency back in 2011 for a personal investment of $75. When she poured months into writing her first blogs and first book. And when she followed that up with months of work to launch her first course. No one told her to do any of this. No one gave her a playbook. She decided. She paid attention to the gaps in her industry. She found one worth pursuing, experimented with solutions that delivered value and earned trust, and committed to action. And as her hard work compounded over time, it all paid off. Putting Julia's story to work for you. While Julia devoted a decade plus to mount the wins that eventually spurred her acquisition, there are some clear steps you can apply to your pursuits. Here are the top insights I took away from Julia's story. Listen for problems to solve. They're everywhere. These could be challenges you face, challenges your team shares, challenges your clients get stuck with. Research solutions to the problems you're drawn to. Those could be solutions that are altogether missing. Maybe ask yourself, do existing solutions work well? And if there's a gap, is it something that you can and should, or are you drawn to fill that gap? Choose solution formats you enjoy creating. For Julia, it was writing. First blogging prolifically, then writing a book. Maybe for you, it's creating video content or doing an interview style podcast, something like that. Pick a topic and pick a format that is going to work for you, that you could do and see yourself committing to for at least a year. Don't boil the ocean on your first go. Break out components of your solutions, offer them in low cost, high value assets. And then once you start to build up those assets, treat each piece of content, each course as a prototype. Ask for feedback, continually iterate it, find the next gap to solve. Treat it like a researcher that is putting their stuff in front of people only to get feedback to make it better, and allow that cycle to continue. And then finally, think in terms of committed, sustained growth. Remain unattached from the daily and weekly metrics. If you launch a podcast and nobody watches it for the first episode, or they don't watch an episode for the first 3 months, keep going. As long as you're passionate about the topic and the problems that you're solving, people will discover it and they will find it. But you have to put yourself out there and you have to be committed to it. At the same time, celebrate your small wins. So when you get that first view, when you get your first subscriber to your newsletter, or your 100th, or your 100,000th, celebrate those along the way. And I'm saying that for myself as well, who's been someone that continually is moving the goalposts and doesn't pay attention to all the stuff that I've put in over the years. Pay attention to it. And then remain in it for the long haul. So what about you? How are you feeling after reading or listening to Julia's story today? And by the way, if you click down at the bottom of the footer, you can't see the footer because I'm reading sort of behind the scenes version of this, there is a comments section, which I'd love for you to fill in and leave comments, questions, ideas, reactions. I love the idea of like having conversation with you guys. I know these are long emails and I know it's probably hard for you to like after spending 10, 15 minutes reading it, that to spend more time writing. But if you do and you're called to, I'd love to see what you write in the comments. You can't leave comments in the email version. You can leave comments when you click the link in the bottom. It says find today's post and all other posts. And then you go and find today's post in the little archive down at the bottom of that page. Open that web version up and you'll find a comment section. There may also be like a link to view the web version at the very top of this email. I don't know. Actually, let me check. Oh yeah, there is. Look, read online. So if I click this, it'll load the web version, and then all the way at the bottom here, you can join the conversation. You can leave a comment. I'd love for you to. Let me go back to where I was reading. Other links down here for you to check out. And by the way, last week we hit 183 subscribers. This week we're up to 190 so far. Let's see how we can keep it growing. I'd love your help growing this thing. Please use the referral link and share it with your friends. When they subscribe, you get access to rewards that I've made available to you. And if there's a few ways that I can help you, please reach out if I can coach you through building your online course or bringing you people that I've worked with design and video editing and digital marketing. Okay, thanks for following along. I hope that you enjoy the midweek format. Please, leave some comments in this Loom video if you like this, that I'm doing these things, or respond to today's email. I'd love to hear from you. I really would. Thanks. See ya.